A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritwika Gupta. As a lead-up to the G20 summit happening in Delhi on 9th and 10th September, we are going to have two distinct conversations covering key priorities of India's G20 presidency. In the first segment, I'll be chatting with Ajay Thakur, head BSE, SME and Startup, about the role of MSMEs in India's economic landscape. And in the second segment, I'll be in conversation with Neelam Chhiber, co-founder Industree and Mother Earth, about women entrepreneurship, women-led development, leadership and much more.
The bustling city of New Delhi is all set to host world leaders at the G20 summit under India's presidency. Newly constructed roads, vibrant street lights and city structures adorned with colourful murals. Delhi is witnessing record footfalls with soaring hotel and airline prices. The temporary closure of government offices, banks, educational institutions and commercial establishments has also been announced. The G20 summit will bring together the heavyweight economies of the world to address the most pressing issues of our time. India's presidency shines as a beacon of hope with its laser focus on building a resilient economy, green development, digital transformation and women-led development. This presidency's theme, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which translates to the world is one family, serves as a powerful reminder of our interconnected world, emphasizing the importance of cooperation and collaboration on a global scale. The decisions made here today won't just affect billions of lives but will rewrite history. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for today's top headlines from the G20.
Thank you, Ajay, for joining us today. So, Prime Minister Modi, in his recent G20 speech, emphasized the significance of MSMEs, highlighting their role in India's economic landscape. And certainly, the G20 presidency also offers a unique opportunity for Indian MSMEs to gain global visibility and forge international partnerships. So, can you talk to us about what more needs to be done to showcase the capabilities of Indian MSMEs, to foster collaborations, perhaps?
I think the last few years, the government has done a lot for the improvement of MSME sector. As you know, MSME sector contribute in a big way to the growth of the Indian economy. And over last few years, their contribution to the whole economy is almost 30%, and it's growing. So G20 presidency has shown that India is emerging as an economic superpower, and they are going to contribute in a big way to the world. And in this context, I think that the MSME sector is going to play a critical role for the development of Indian economy and have a footing in the world business at all. Government will take this opportunity, which has come in this way, whereby the presidency has come to our country. I think the government will showcase the MSME sector to the world. They will give them a lot of exposure. The MSME sector will be able to see that what their international partners are doing. And the government will also use the diplomatic channel to ensure that the SMEs collaborate with their international partners. They should know the supply chain, whatever is there in the international arena, and what their international peers are doing. I think the whole world is opening, and the SME has to make a footprint there on the global scale. So I think the government will use this opportunity to ensure that the SMEs of this country will have access to not only the various innovations, various technology upgradation that is happening across the world. These SMEs should have access to the international finance also, which will come in a very cost-effective manner. I think these measures will be taken by the government to showcase our SME promoters, the SME entrepreneurs, and take them to the next level. I think all our SMEs are very much have got very good skills. they are lacking at some places, whereby with approaching to their international partners, they can improve their quality standards. They can also see the sustainability of their business. They can showcase themselves, and government will try to give them the platform to showcase themselves.
Sure. Ajay, tell us, what do you think needs to be done to empower MSMEs on the global stage? How can Indian MSMEs expand their reach and explore new markets?
SMEs have to do a lot of market research through which they can find out that where the space is, where they should target their businesses. They can, collaborate with them.
Sure.
At the same time, I think, they will be also able to understand that through where they can get the funds, they can get the cheap funds through which they can expand their, businesses and the processes. Not only that, they will also be able to understand that what the standards need to be maintained when they are making the production. Those quality standards, if they can maintain or if they can improve, I think their global acceptability will improve. And if the acceptability will improve, they will get more and more businesses.
Absolutely.
So I think that these things are going to work in their favor if they are going to adapt the best practices and best processes. That I'm quite sure that will increase their efficiency also. So I think through G20 meetings and all this networking and all this market researches, access to finance, and the global market is going to of course increase their businesses in a big way. And the SME promoters will be able to showcase themselves, and they will reach to the they will be the partner of this supply chain, and they will improve their businesses.
You know, Ajay, at the recent G20 summit, India proposed to make an AI-based portal to assist MSMEs in developing countries with data on global supply chains. And I think that's really innovative. Tell me, what's your take on this? And how do you think an initiative like this can really change the way Indian MSMEs operate and collaborate in the international trade landscape?
So I think with this AI portal, all these SMEs will have access to all the informations, whatever they require. They can even reach to the financiers. They can reach to the foreign countries, where by also they can approach directly to the banks and the other financial institutions, and through there they can get the funds.
Sure.
They can be the party to the supply chain mechanism. They can approach to the counterparts. They can approach to the other companies. They can know and they can understand what their profiles are. Who will be their buyers, who will be their sellers, and at the same time other parties also will have the information about this company. So I think all the informations getting available at one place will help these companies to reach any place, anywhere, and do the proper and right businesses. So I think this is a very welcoming decision that has been taken by the government, and I think it will be very transforming. It will help a lot of Indian SMEs, because we have got a lot of macro, small, and medium enterprises who want to grow, who are looking for the bright future. So with this AI portal, I think this information asymmetry that is there will get eliminated, and they can contact each other, they can understand each other, they can reach there, they can grow their market. And with the growth of the market, you will see this SME companies start flourishing, and our GDP gets improved.
So I also want to touch on, one of G20's key priorities. The concept of accelerated, resilient and inclusive growth is central to India's G20 presidency. How do you see this approach benefiting Indian MSMEs and them contributing, to India's economic landscape?
See, I think that of course it is going to help SME, because a country can be resilient and growing only when their MSMEs are growing. And with this thought, with this approach, I think it is will be targeted towards the growth of small and medium enterprises. And even if you take the micro enterprises, because India has got lots and lots of micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Okay.
So with this thought in the middle of this G20 summit, I think it will create a lot of avenues for small and medium enterprises for their growth. And this research based targeted based this whole deliberation, this whole workshop, this whole events is of course going to going to take the things in the right directions with the proper result. So I think it's very beneficial for the small and medium enterprises of this country. India is looking to grow. Today, we are the fastest growing country in the world. And with the G20 presidency coming to us, and the world is thinking that yes, India is going to be one of the biggest market. We have seen the double whammy of COVID and this Russia-Ukraine war, whereby we have seen the supply chain disruptions happening. So with this approach, I think we are placed at the right place, whereby we can contribute in a big way to this supply chain, and we will be able to take advantage. We will be able to stabilize the world because we are the youngest population. We have got the demographic dividend, and I'm quite sure that with this concept, with this type of deliberation, with this type of workshops, the small and medium enterprises of this country are going to benefit a lot, and we will be able to contribute to the growth of the, not only to the growth of the country, but we'll be able to also make a lot of production to this world, and will try to stabilize the price fluctuations that are happening, and stabilize the prices. So I think that with this thing, with this notion, with this concept in place, SMEs of our country is going to take benefit out of it, and will grow and take their business to the growth path.
And as G20 comes to a close, how do you believe these efforts and initiatives that have come up through this platform, as well as from the Indian government, can really enhance the commitment to support the growth in the MSME sector?
So government is already committed. There is no denying to this fact that if we want to have an inclusive and equitable growth in this country, we have to ensure that we have a vibrant ecosystem around the MSMEs.
Okay.
And for that, government is already trying. They have worked a lot on the ease of doing business. The reason of taking G20 presidency and doing all these workshop deliberations in the country is because we need to ensure that we have a vibrant ecosystem under which the MSME sectors should grow and grow in double digit, so that we can create and give employment to a lot of young people. I think the government is committed. The government is working in the right direction, and all the steps that has been taken post COVID are going to help the SMEs in their growth journey. So a lot of things have been done. Government is going to do a lot of other things in the times to come. Government is committed, and because of the lot of policy decisions that have been taken, we have seen a vertical growth post COVID, and the SMEs have started growing.
Sure.
We are seeing highest GST collections happening. We have seen direct index tax collections to all-time high. So all these things are a clear direction that we are on the right track, we are on the right path, and we are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that there is a sustainable growth in the SME sector. Not only that, the government is also trying to have ESG mechanism in the country, and we are committed to zero carbon emission by 2047. So if you sum up all these things together, you can understand how much we value our SME ecosystem, and we want to ensure that the SMEs of this country should see sustainable growth.
Well, thank you so much for the really insightful takeaways, Ajay. It was good chatting with you. It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. In conversation now with Neelam Chhiber about women-led development, which forms the core of India's G20 presidency. Listen in. Thank you, Neelam, for joining us today on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I want to kick this off by talking about the G20 presidency under India's leadership, which has emphasized a women-led development as a key focus area. How do you see this shift in narrative influencing and empowering women entrepreneurs in India?
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity, the G20 presidency that India has, to become a voice for women in India who are generally overlooked a lot in terms of the most vulnerable women at village level. As we all know, 50% of India's population is women, but we are seeing a falling rate in labor force participation over the years. It has improved a bit, definitely. We are now ranked 127 in the world ranking, which is shared by the World Economic Forum, up from number 134. So we've gained a few ranks. So things are definitely improving. But with 93% of India's workforce being in the informal sector, I think India has a huge opportunity to talk and bring forward the voices of the most vulnerable women and their role in entrepreneurship and their role in their own growth in this country, which is building up.
So, Neelam, the G20 aims to reduce the gender gap in labor force participation by 25% by the end of 2025. How can this commitment create a more conducive environment for women entrepreneurs, and what role do you see women entrepreneurs playing in achieving this goal?
So when we talk about women's entrepreneurship, Ritwika, we focus a lot on collectives. Because women in the most vulnerable communities are not going to be able to become entrepreneurs and create employment for more women. Most of the women, and the majority of the women we look at, they are 4th standard or 8th standard pass. And we have a wonderful opportunity with India's phenomenal scope and future of work within the National Rural Livelihood Mission. So India, our Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, announced in the budget for the next 5 years, 80,000 crore rupees for the National Rural Livelihoods, for the National Rural Development Ministry, right? And we have something called the National Rural Livelihood Mission, which builds women collectives. So 300 women are put into collectives, and India has got one of the world's largest grouping of women in self-help groups in villages, and these can become the entrepreneurs of the future. The definition of entrepreneurship, India has a huge opportunity through this G20 presidency of defining entrepreneurship as inclusive entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship not just being a single woman entrepreneur who may or may not employ more women, but having women's collectives as inclusive enterprises led and whose members are all women. And these are SMEs. And Industree Foundation has shown a pathway with the support of very, very large global donors such as USAID and very large CSR organizations in the country, that these can be very successful collectives and can be scaled within the National Rural Livelihoods Mission under the Ministry of Rural Development, because of the strong funding and the strong foundational work these ministries have done. And this can be a showcase for all G20 countries and really take forth and reduce the gender gap in labor force participation going forward.
Neelam, if you can also share a little bit about your work as a social entrepreneur, how are you empowering artisans from remote areas of India? Can you talk to us about that?
So Industree Foundation has a strong history in working in rural livelihoods. So initially we started working with rural artisans, but over the years we've discovered that the buyers, the customers, the markets, the global markets and national markets are interested in a very high level of compliance, in a high level of quality, high levels of productivity, which is not always possible for these communities at village level to adhere to. Thus, we have always followed the path of building large-size collectives. So groups of 300 women to 500 women can then be formed into a larger company, which is called a producer company, which under Indian corporate law is a company owned by the women. And they are assisted by professional managers to run and function in a very professional manner. And we've got these collectives that can supply to global buyers such as IKEA or Carrefour or Target, right? And moreover, even to national level supply chains such as Fab India or Reliance, etc.
Wonderful.
So we find that in the world of apparel or in the world of home accessory, also in the world of value-added foods and health products and personal care, there is phenomenal potential. Therefore, now we call our work going beyond artisanal production. We call our work being at the cusp and the intersection of equity, climate, and gender, because we find that the most vulnerable communities need to work with the natural resources that surround them. When they work with the natural resources that surround them, then they are working with nature-based solutions, which is a very, very active part of climate action. And here they work with their local natural fibers. They can work with bamboo. They can work with organic cottons and things like that.
Finally, tell me, as India's G20 presidency comes to a close, how do you envision the momentum created by India's efforts to empower women entrepreneurs? What can you tell us about the focus on women-led development?
Well, India's G20 presidency is being passed on to Brazil. I had noticed that Germany, in 2017 or 16 G20 or 18, I cannot remember exactly which, had actually introduced women's entrepreneurship into its announcement around gender, that women's entrepreneurship should be encouraged. I think India's legacy through its presidency should really be about pushing for inclusive entrepreneurship, as I shared about how the 70% of India that lives in its villages, how is that going to be included? And which is clearly 35% of the population. If you have 70% living in villages, 35% of them are women, right? So it's a huge bulk of India's population. And it's not just our population, it's a global population, right? So the largest contributors to GDP and a bulk of the nations in the G20 are going to be agricultural contributions, right? And in agricultural contribution, we see that women play a very strong role, right? But land rights are not there for them. Income generated through the land is not going to them. We have also seen the importance of women. If women earn more money, their money goes directly towards improved nutrition, improved health, improved education of the family, right? And therefore, I think India's legacy and contribution should be that the unspoken of population in the G20 countries, how are we listening to their voices and how are we bringing solutions for them is what should and could be India's legacy to the G20 countries.
Thank you, Neelam. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
And with that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.